I'd like to call to order the September 17th, 2025 meeting of the Public Works Advisory Committee. Can I get a roll call, Julie?
Kevin Watlett.
Present.
Mary Lalo.
Present.
Bill Pfaff.
Present.
George Robin.
Present.
Scott Peterson.
Present.
Pam Hobbs.
Present.
Dave Nolan.
Present.
Greg Lammert.
Present.
Chad Dagley.
Present.
James Myers.
Present.
Wendy Prakop.
Present.
That makes us all here and accounted for. Huh. All right, can we get the Pledge of Allegiance? Bill, you want to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have an agenda in front of us for tonight. Anybody have anything they need added, moved? Can I get a motion?
I will move to approve the agenda.
Give me a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then move on to the approval of the minutes from the August 20th meeting of this committee.
I'll move to approve those.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, moving on to citizen comments. We have any citizen comments tonight? Don't see any citizens to comment. Go on to new business, and we're going to get a path priority presentation. Chris is coming up.
This is all queued up. Thank you to the committee for having me. Chris Clerks, Capital Improvements Manager here for the City of O'Fallon. Tonight we wanted to just kind of talk through, it's been a little while, and I don't know if some or all of you were even on the committees back in the day when we did our last effort to figure out what the priority for the city would be for our path and trail and sidewalk infrastructure. And so we're going to go through a little bit of history and kind of go through what we think we want to maybe move forward with. I have already talked to the Parks Committee last month. I was able to get in front of them, asking the same questions I'll ask of you tonight. They gave me a little bit of input, and it'll be just maybe more of an open discussion towards the end of this, but you can stop me anytime. I will be going to City Council then also next week to discuss the same thing. So just a little bit of a background. Back in 2006, you can see what our population was back then, about 72.5, and that was back when they were doing some citizen surveys, and there was a strong interest to do some additional bike and pedestrian opportunities. Back in 2008, City Comprehensive Plan identified a bikeable, walkable plan to be a goal to as part of a strategic planning, it appears. Back in 2009 is when the bikeable, walkable plan was officially adopted by council, and that gave us some good direction, at least in the early years, on what we want to do for the path and trail and sidewalk improvements for the city. And there's been a lot of stuff going on throughout the many years that we've been progressing. In 2015, one of the big things we did was we launched our interactive bike walk map. That is the link to it. It's been a while since it's been updated. That's kind of all part of our new current strategic plan, is to get everything updated and utilizing the input we have and then advance into the future with what we want to do. So from 21 to 23, we've just given you guys various updates on many different projects. I'll have a projects list here in a minute. And the current population, as you can see, went up 20,000 people. So it's a significant increase. I don't know where 100% where it's at right now, but we're generally around 95,000. So this is that list of projects I was talking about, where it comes to what we've been doing, what we currently have in the works, and then also what we are looking to plan and do here in the future. Like I said, a lot of this conversation is going to go towards our strategic plan, which we just started that effort with City Council recently. And this is a topic that would be used for that. But you can see over the years, we've completed roughly on this list here, and this isn't probably an all-encompassing. It's the best I could do to fit on one sheet and still be somewhat legible. But we had about at least 7 of them completed from the goals that we had from our previous strategic plan. So back in, I can't remember exactly what year, but the first year that I was part of the effort to figure out priorities, the parks kind of led that, I think, a little bit strong. They kind of led that charge, and we were just part of it to help. And that priority would have been focusing along Highway K. So I want to say it was around 13, 14, somewhere in there. But in just for instance, in 2017, we built the shared use path project along Highway K that actually extended from Fisey Road all the way down to Technology, filling in segments of Highway K that were currently not there at the time. So that's the kind of, that's just kind of, well, it's the first one on top there, but that's an example I wanted to use. So we've got 7 of them at least completed. We've got at least 8 of them in progress right now with the list you can see there. And then we've got at least 5 planned for improvements to our path and trail system. If anybody has any specifics to these, you can always ask. I can always come back to this. So I just want to give a general kind of in-your-face bit of information here of just the current inventory that we've got to date. And this is to be refined. This is a high-level view of it, trying to get all the information, just basic information into it and get some numbers put to it. But you can see we currently have, when you look at our bike routes, our multi-use path, which is actually a path that would be generally less than 10 foot wide, and then a shared use path, which is generally 10 foot wide or larger. That's the difference between the two. We have park path in there and sidewalks also. We have basically 339 miles of infrastructure at a general value of about $148 million. So in this, we have just kind of a little tidbit on the sidewalks and path alone. We have about 6,000 or a little over 6,000 curb ramps that have a high value in just themselves for curb ramps. So you can see that's a rather large number. I'm just kind of throwing some information out here for now we can discuss here in a minute. So then there's also future improvements that we want to put a value to. And this is based off of a map that's not public. It's more of an internal document. And it's just something staff has done at a high level for now. Again, we'll get some refinement to it. You guys will be seeing those kinds of pieces of information here in the future. But, we're looking at potentially having up to about 123 more miles of infrastructure should it all get built out the way we have it, high level planned at this time. And you can see the dollar value to that. So when you put those two together, roughly we have about 462 miles of some kind of bike or pedestrian facility or infrastructure at a value of almost $260 million, if you include the future. If you don't, obviously we're back down to about $148 million of current asset value that we need to try to maintain, that we need to keep in our purview, the forefront of our mind for what we need to do. And just to put it in perspective, as a comparison, the city has over 730 lane miles for roadways. And when we say lane mile, that's you got, say in a residential street, you got one lane going one direction, one coming back. That's one direction is a lane mile. So we have over 730 lane miles of streets, and that asset's valued over $400 million. We've got it ballparked around 430. I'm just wanting to keep it general, but it is over 400 million just in that asset. So when you compare the two, you can see that they're both very costly to keep up and maintain into working order in good condition. So with that being said, this is the available budget, which we always appreciate any money that we do get. So I want to say thank you to the council and to you guys for always supporting the budgets and everything that we've presented in the past years. But you can see that if we only have $200,000 to spend on a path or some kind of maintenance for our infrastructure, we're falling behind every minute, every day. So it's going to be hard to ever catch up if we ever do. We do have another $80,000 that we generally commit to ADA transition plan, which is that's kind of referring back to the curb ramps I was talking about, ADA curb ramps and things like that. That's generally what we focus that money on. And you guys know as well as the other committees and council that we've talked to, we're always looking for outside funding from East-West Gateway, from St. Charles County Road Board, or any miscellaneous state or federal grants or any other grants that we can come up with. We're always looking at all those options to see if it's worth the time and the value to go after outside funding. So proportionally, it's a little tough, but we're still doing what we can with the money that we're given, and we do appreciate that very much. So I just want to have a quick discussion on just a high-level cost of doing business, because when sometimes we get some requests and there's discussions, and it might look like when you just drive past something or you're walking past something and you're like, oh, they should put a 10-foot path right here. It's not always that easy. So some of the needs that we run into with the cost of doing business for just, the path and pedestrian bike infrastructure is the design needs depend on the complexity of the project. Whereas that, where if it's located along Highway K, that's a lot different than if we're talking about along some residential street or something like that. Potential easement or right-of-way needs, if we're widening out infrastructure or needing new infrastructure, there's a lot of times we run into it where the right-of-way isn't wide enough for that. So we have to go out and purchase either easements or right-of-way, which is the purchase of the land, to make sure we can put the facilities on there, whether it's a bike or a pedestrian facility. And then construction can include, this is just a kind of a high-level bullet list. Probably doesn't include everything. That's why there's unforeseen items thrown at the bottom. But this is generally what we have to look at when we're looking at just trying to do a project. So again, I just wanted to point out that sometimes it's not as easy as it looks, and most of the time when it comes to the projects we're dealing with on the CIP, it's not that easy. I wish it was. It would make things a lot easier and cheaper. So just for instance on that, there was a request that came in that we were looking at, and it was about 1,750 lineal feet. And just to give you an idea of how long that is, that if you're familiar with Bryan Road and Feisey, from Bryan Road and Feisey's intersection back to the first subdivision going eastbound on the left side or on the north side of Feisey, that's 1,750 feet. It was estimated at $450,000 to put. It was requested to try to upgrade the sidewalk, regular sidewalk, 4 or 5 foot wide, whatever it was, up to a 10-foot wide. And when we did our evaluation, looked at it, put our estimates together, it ends up being $450,000. So for just that little chunk, we're talking $500,000. If you're familiar with that area, if not, I would recommend driving by it someday if you're in the area, just to see that the money gets pretty significant pretty quick for a short amount of length. So what I wanted to just bring to you guys is, and to ask the open question, and you can throw out any question you want to, or we can talk about anything, open it up for you guys to let me know what you guys would think collectively would be good priority for the city to start looking at and evaluating and trying to manage and incorporate into our next strategic planning vision over the next 3 years. And we'll start working on that, in conjunction with what we've already got from Parks, a couple things they threw out. I want to hear what you guys have to say before I let you know what they said, see if we're kind of talking the same. And then, like I said, just get some input from you guys. If you have questions on any of the projects, we can talk through any of the projects. As far as an update, I wasn't going to get into too much of that, but I'm more than willing to talk about some of the projects we have ongoing or planned, which is fine, and I can go back to that list. So I'm kind of opening it up to everybody. Which I usually don't do, but I'd like to hear from you guys and see what you think.
All right, who wants to start?
There's got to be something.
James, you got to have something.
Before I get to any specific projects, I had a question about how you coordinate with Great Rivers Greenway on the projects and how the priorities and the funding and how that works. Since your list of projects included some Greenway projects.
Yep, I'll just go back to that now so you guys can digest it a little bit further. I went through it pretty quick. So yeah, we've actually got a really good relationship with Great Rivers Greenway. Since I started in 2013, and I know well before that, the city has been engaged with Great Rivers Greenway to, one of the main focuses was just trying to get the Greenway through O'Fallon. And we've had a lot of good momentum over the past 2 to 3 years, I would say, since 2020, honestly. It's been about 5 years now, because we started getting momentum when it came to the I-64 Darden Greenway connector, which is under construction right now. If you live down in that area and they shut down Technology Drive, you probably wanted to yell at us. But that's a coordinated effort with MoDOT, and it's actually being run by MoDOT. Because we're going to put a 12-foot shared use path along the bridge that they're rebuilding, and then we will have our own dedicated path system that connects back into the Barrett Haven path system down in that little hole of Darden Creek there. So that is underway. And that was, again, coordinated with Great Rivers Greenway for about a year before we even got funding secured from East West Gateway. Great Rivers Greenway has provided some funds already, and they plan on providing some more to help with the cost of that project. And we just, kept that momentum going, because following that project getting kicked off and designed and everything like that, we ended up getting some momentum from St. Charles County acquiring that Keevan Lake that's down off of Highway K, just south of the, kind of around Renaud Spirit Center, Waterford Crossing area. There's a lake off to the east of K. When county acquired that, they started talking about blueways a lot more seriously. But at the same time, we started engaging Great Rivers Greenway to see if we could get something through Sports Park. And we currently have that in design right now, and our preliminary plans are almost done to where we can get into some federal or MoDOT approvals for plan approvals, and hope to go into right-of-way acquisition pretty soon, and then construction next year for that one starting. Getting through Sports Park, which would go from Highway K and have connectivity to Highway K and extend over to Bluebird Park. So if all of that gets connected, when all that gets connected, I should say, we'll have connectivity from I-64 all the way to that lake, which is our city limit, basically, where it turns into county and Cottleville, I think a little bit after that. So we're really excited about all that, and that's generally how we have coordinated with GRG in the past, 5 years, but I know it's been going on for decades, including before I was even here, so.
So regarding that specific project, and I think I might have not been able to attend the meeting where you reviewed it, are you going under Highway K or with a crossing?
Well, we originally started the project thinking we were going to have to go on top of, like on Highway K across the bridge, but that transitioned when we had some reviews done. We needed to do a hydraulic evaluation to understand if we could go underneath, and it was found that we could, and that ended up being the preferred option that we switched to. So we are actually going under Highway K to get over to that lake.
And then at this point, I know I see it across Highway K. It looks like there's some under construction east of K, but the city's responsibility stops at the lake, or?
Pretty much, yeah.
And then, but there are plans with the county to extend it to the north, isn't there, beyond the lake, or?
We have talked to the county. It's been a while since we really had a big conversation with them, but yeah, their plan is to develop that lake a little bit more. I don't know all the details to that, but at least make it a little bit more accessible for fishing, keep it a fishing lake with some path around it, from my understanding, and a small parking lot is kind of what I was hearing. I haven't seen any plans or heard of any plans for that to keep going, but that was what they were saying. And then with Darden, Great Rivers Greenway, county, and all of us talking, there is always conversation of how do we get over to connectivity along Highway N and connection to Cottleville ultimately, to try to get over to Legacy, because that's the Greenway through Cottleville's Legacy, through Legacy Park. So yeah, we're slowly getting these pieces put together and these segments built. It's just, there's not any plans for that. It's still kind of in a planning program.
And then one more question, the project you have up in progress for Weldon Spring Road, the 10-foot shared use path.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be, it's in conjunction with the traffic circle that's
Yes.
being constructed, but
Yep.
it's going to be a shared use path on the road, or is it going to be a separate path, or how's that going to work? And what are the end limits of it?
Yeah, the shared use path is separate from the road. And it will be stopping just right there at Valley Brook Drive, I think, is the subdivision. If you're going, from Technology towards Darden Prairie, it's down at the bottom of the hill. I think it stops right there for now. But we have had conversations in the past years with Darden Prairie of what does like a phase 2 look like. In all honesty, Darden Prairie's got a project, I think, federally funded from my understanding, to start from Technology and come back towards the 90-degree on Weldon on that roadway. So yeah, it's again, just all the pieces are kind of falling into place right now for us to keep going with some really good momentum. We just got to see how that plays out with all of our other priorities of roadways and things that we have to go after for funding. So yeah, we're going to be looking at that real hard with application season coming up here starting in November. So it's got here before I was hoping it would, honestly. So, yep.
Barry?
Out of those paths, do you have a percentage of how many are asphalt and concrete and gravel? And how do you determine which one's going to be treated like that?
So I don't have that breakdown, but we could probably get it. It might take a little bit of time, but we can get that. But generally, what we do on the capital improvement side is when we build a path that's built out of concrete, and that's the main reason is just for longevity and less maintenance is really what it comes down to. If you drive up and down Highway K and you even on Bryan Road, which we've been transitioning, we're taking asphalt out. If we're doing it, if the city's doing it, we're taking asphalt out and putting concrete. We've had really good luck with some developments actually taking the asphalt out and putting concrete. But there is still some asphalt path that gets built every once in a while, not very often anymore. But there was stuff back in the day that was all asphalt. So along Highway K, that's mostly asphalt. There's not a whole lot of concrete out there. And it's pretty deteriorated. And so it needs a lot of help. So we don't have a whole lot of gravel paths or trails, I would say. That's more of a trail. But getting back to Great Rivers Greenway, whenever we build something for a greenway, it's ADA compliant and everything, so all users can use it. So those generally aren't just like a rock path or anything you'd see like the Katy Trail. But like I said, concrete is typically what we will do. So whatever the percentage is now, I think the asphalt percentage will essentially go away over time because we're going to build them in concrete just to help with the overall maintenance costs, because concrete can last a lot longer. So, does that help you? All right.
Craig?
So with the reconstruction of Highway N out around Lake St. Louis,
Okay.
the part that's in O'Fallon, I know N reconstruction is more of a county project than a city project. Are we working with them as far as the design of N to have something on either side?
Yes, we are. We are part of those conversations. We attend meetings and give our input. We talk to county all the time. Every month we have monthly meetings with them to talk about like the status of that project. And so, yes, we have been engaged in that, and it is planned for it to have, I believe, a shared use path at minimum along one side of it at minimum. I don't know if it would be on both sides. Generally, I think it's going to stay to one side, but that's still yet to be fully determined and laid out in the conceptuals. I haven't seen any conceptuals. I haven't been able to attend the meetings. I know Wade has, and I believe some others have, but they've done a public input effort. I think a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago, they were doing a public effort just to get everybody familiar with what they're looking at, and they're still kind of in that planning and early design phases right now of that. Yep. But a 10-foot, I believe, would be the minimum that would go out there as of right now.
Right, Pam?
So considering your current maintenance budget, the maintenance that you do right now is purely reactive, I'm assuming?
Yeah, as of right now. And so we do have a maintenance program going along Highway K. We're basically starting at Technology and working our way back towards Waterford Crossing area to try to reseal whatever asphalt's out there. But we first need to do some point repairs because the path is degraded so far that we can't just put the seal over it. It wouldn't do any good. So we're trying to fix some of those really degraded areas, put a decent top back in those specific areas, and then we would seal the whole path section then. So this is the first year we're really doing, it's more of a preventative maintenance type material, but we don't have the funds to reconstruct much. So we're trying to just limp this thing along until we can figure out our next steps. And that's part of the strategic plan, is for us to really focus on how a maintenance program can come together and what it is going to cost and what we would need to request for budget and can budget handle it, things like that. So we're in the early phases, but again, that reverts back to why we want your guys' input so we can use that moving forward with strategic planning and future budgets and all of that. Hopefully that answers your question, the first one anyways.
Yes, it does. Thank you. So anything that is built for GRG or connecting to a GRG, they will usually help fund it, but
Yes.
then the maintenance is going to kick back to the city.
Generally, that is how it works, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't locked in all those details, but they have committed funding to both the projects that I was referring to earlier, the Darden Connector by 64 and the Sports Park. They've committed quite a bit of funding to both of those projects already. And then, yes, generally, we would take over maintenance. So the portion through Sports Park would be our focus, but we have the conversations still yet to be had for anything that goes past our city limit or over a property line or whatever and gets into other jurisdictions. We got to figure that out a little bit still, so, yep.
Yeah, because I could see, that this is the thing that's going to be continuing is the shared use and walking and biking. And,
Yep.
You may actually get to the point where you've got a maintenance schedule like you do on your roads.
Yep, that's exactly what we're shooting for and what we need to do. Knowing full well that we're behind the 8 ball by a long ways already, and we're just going to have to start doing what we can with the money we have and trying to stretch that out as far as we can. In all honesty, what we're doing this year went a lot further than I thought it was going to. Like I said, we're going from with that seal coat over the asphalt path along Highway K. I didn't know we were going to be able to touch from technology all the way up to Waterford Crossing. That's a pretty good stretch. It's I think it varies between 6 and 8 feet through that whole stretch, and it's got some segments that are pretty rough. But we're doing the point repairs in some of the worst areas, but we're not going to catch them all. We're going to do the best we can, and that's what we hope we can get a few more years of life out of it, and it'll look a little bit better instead of just kind of a faded, dilapidated looking path or whatever. And obviously, we want to fix any safety issues while we're there. So.
And so considering that, these are all vehicles or pedestrians vehicles that are lightly loaded, like golf carts are probably the heaviest thing. Does that pavement life extend way beyond what a typical roadway would?
As far as like the asphalt stuff we're talking about, or just a path? And if we build a new path, is that what you're asking about?
Yes.
I would say, well, that's kind of a loaded question because unfortunately I've seen heavy loaded utility trucks sitting on our 10-foot shared use paths because that's what they do. And it's not just utility people, it's multiple different vehicles have been on some of our sidewalks and paths. Okay. Not just the light UTVs or, golf carts or whatever. I know our code, if I remember right, does allow golf carts on sidewalks that are greater than 6 foot as long as it's not signed no motorized vehicles, I believe. But I don't generally build them for golf carts. I would like to keep it to more pedestrian and bicyclists and things like that. So that would be where we get the most years of life because it's the lightest traffic. You start putting the golf carts on and things like that, and some of those point loads can cause things to fail. So I know they're not crazy heavy, but they're heavy enough to cause damage sometimes.
Last question.
No, that's fine.
When is the technology bridge scheduled to be completed and reopened?
So I don't know the exact date per the schedule, but they have been making good progress. So I can keep you guys updated on that. But I know MoDOT's hoping by the end of the year, but I think it's a little bit of a stretch right now, and it all depends on the weather. I would say early first quarter next year for sure. Yep.
Are you done? All right, Scott.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Great to see all this going on. I guess if you're looking for suggestions or opinions, I think to me it would be, dedicated pedestrian paths over or under Highway K and over and under Highway 40, 61. I think that's happening, it appears to be. Is that correct?
Yeah, when it comes to getting underneath K, that would be part of the sports park greenway. We can get across K in certain areas of signals because we've improved some of those signals to where there's pedestrian and bike crossing and connectivity, like along N and K. We improved that as part of the 2017 project I was referring to, where we have a protected crossing through the signal at N and K now, or it was back then. So, and other barriers, we'd be getting underneath the I-64 bridges with the Greenway project that we're doing, but we hit the roadblock of Bush Wildlife. MDC was in early conversations with us when we were doing that project, but they had a state mandate basically of we don't build anything new, or we just need to focus on maintaining what we got. So we haven't really been able to get much movement there. So, but if that ever were to happen, yeah, we could get into MDC and then, keep going that where we wouldn't, but, somebody would have to get those trails built through MDC. So did I answer your question? I'm not sure I did.
I think you mentioned this before, but that underneath Highway 40 at the Darden Creek, I mean, that's going to happen. And
That's going to happen.
It's going to be a stoppage.
Yeah.
And a holding place for a future path
Connection. Yeah.
into Bush Wildlife.
Yeah, we'll leave it as a kind of a cul-de-sac, like a bubble.
Okay.
And it'll have, I think it's even got an interpretive sign that somebody could walk up to and get some education on what they're looking at, staring out into MDC, what that truly is, I think is what it's going to say. We still got to work through those details. But yeah, we're leaving them to where it can always be connected in the future. Yep.
Yeah, I know you mentioned about, Highway K and N, there's signals and there's going to be, that's great, because we've kind of been playing catch up here and the rapid growth of our city and trying to get more pedestrian friendly and and that's great that we're trying to get there and up by Highway 70 when looks like that's really improved to get people underneath.
Yeah, I have been really focused on my conversation with the south part of town, but we have made great strides in the north part of town too with what you're referring to. I-70, those projects, we have connectivity underneath the bridges now with the safer crossings for pedestrians at signals and things like that right there at I-70. We just finished Main Street Phase 1, which widened out and put some new sidewalk and decorative stuff through Main Street Phase 1, which is from the tracks back to Pittman Avenue. And we've got another phase of that already we're looking at trying to do another phase of that, which would be Main Street Phase 2, which is from Pittman to 70, hopefully in the next year. And then we have Main Street Phase 3, which extends from the tracks north to St. Joe, which would all put in new sidewalk infrastructure and things like that. So we are making great strides, and not only just the south side, but the north side too.
Okay, thanks. And one more thing, follow up on what Pam mentioned about the golf carts. And I would be, would want to know what the plans are for the rules and regulations on that, because I've had a few close calls in Cotterville. These are not golf carts. They're bigger than golf carts, and people, going pretty fast. So I would hope that there'd be some good restrictions on that.
So to kind of reassess the code, is that kind of what you're saying? Reassess the code, and if there's changes to that, maybe? To limit?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I just, in Cotterville, it's pretty crazy to me. I mean, there's just a lot of that going on.
Yep. I'm not familiar with a current effort to the code changes or anything, but we can look into that as part of the strategic planning and see if something needs to be revised or whatever. I know it's a hot button item, because even where I live out west of here, it's something that's on their vision too of do they allow or do they not allow UTVs and golf carts on the road and things like that, let alone on the paths. So, yeah, I think that's a really large conversation, and I really don't know where right now the city stands. I know we do have a code, and I think I was correct in how I stated it. So, and if not, I can always find that. And yep.
Bill?
Yes, Chris, the annual maintenance program and new construction, is all of that in-house or is some of it farmed out?
What my group on the engineering and project management side of it deals with is all contracted work. So it's just like our street concrete replacement program. We have contractors that come in and do that work for us. But I do know that Public Works does do things, you know, they're more work order based, which is the way they need to be, and taking care of things with sidewalk and path as they come in potentially for a work order. So it is a little bit of both. We personally on my end, we just deal with the contracted stuff. Okay. And I would have to let Public Works speak to what, you know, how they handle the rest of that on the in-house.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, anything else over here? Oh, Wendy.
Chris, with the thing with the ATVs and all that, we need to get back to what the Great Rivers Greenway said on walking and bikeway paths.
Yeah.
They weren't really meant to be for the ATVs.
Correct.
I just needed to say that because,
Yeah.
like everyone has said, they are a little crazy. I mean, you do have people that are, you know, good about it.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. In the very beginning, it was meant for biking and for walking.
That is correct. And if you ask Great Rivers Greenway, that's their answer. They sign them and they don't allow motorized use. The gray area is your scooters, e-bikes, things like that. That's the gray area. And I think it's a gray area for everybody still. But you are correct.
Can you flip back to that last slide again?
The very last one?
Yep.
That one?
Yeah, so I mean, we haven't really talked much about this.
Yeah, so I can go through these bullets if you want me to, that's fine. Like as far as the new arterial path improvements and connections, do we want us to focus more on that, which means we would have to be going after external funding because usually, you know, as far as the SRIF or the Street Road Improvement Fund, that can't support a full-fledged project. So that's one thing we could look at. You know, obviously we want to keep our momentum with the greenways, but and or major roads, we're always going to have to look at that so people have a level of comfort to use something along Highway K, along Bryan, along Mexico, along those higher volume, higher speed roads. That would be one priority if that's what we would want to keep going with. Widening of existing sections to 10 foot where sensible. There's a lot of areas throughout the city where, like I said, it's a variable width of anywhere from 4 to 8 feet of a sidewalk that transitions to a multi-use path kind of a thing. So we could look at some of that if that's going to be the focus. Just maintenance of existing paths. Obviously, I've showed you the numbers, way behind the 8 ball on that, but doing what we can with the money we get. We do have resident and path requests that come into us. We generally haven't been able to do much with them because those are the ones I'm talking about where the cost of doing business thing, a short amount of sidewalk might look easy, and sometimes they may be easier, but it still runs cost up pretty darn quick. So we've got estimates of, I don't know, I'll say between 20 and 30 requests that we've had on a list that we've been trying to get to, but we don't have the funds or, you know, whatever the reason is. Because a lot of times we have to go through a design effort to get a new section built.
So those are just new section type things? Like
A lot of times that would...
vacant lot or whatever, and there wasn't a sidewalk type
Yeah.
deals?
Yeah, just for instance, like there's a request over there off of Sondren and VMP, you know, over there by Ethel's. There's a section that has been requested a couple of different times, and that's pretty common. Once a request comes in, we see, you know, multiple come in general areas. But, you know, that's the kind of thing we run into where design, easements, and construction funds are all necessary to properly do it. Some of them, like I said, that area I said specifically over there at Sondren VMP looks not too bad if you're just looking at it, you know, kind of through a tunnel vision. But when you really look into it and you start diving into what needs to happen, it can get a little expensive. So I'd say a couple $100,000 is probably a minimum for something like that. And I don't know, we got to figure out where the money's going to go, because I only have 200,000 every year to do anything for the maintenance. And then curb ramps and existing sidewalk maintenance. We have over 6,000 ramps throughout the city, like I said, with our concrete program, with our asphalt program. And then, I think if something comes in on a work order, we take care of ramps, like for the concrete program. If we tear out the slabs around a ramp and it's out of compliance, we'll rebuild the ramp, kind of a thing. Or if we see a path or a sidewalk section in a residential area where we're working with some concrete replacements, then we'll try to pick it up, but it all depends on the money. Obviously, the money that we get for residential streets, we try to use for the residential streets, and we try to just kind of pigeonhole a little bit of funds to do as many ramps as we can. Because we generally, if we just touch one slab and there's 3 slabs touching the ramp, we don't take the ramp out, because we aren't touching the whole area. We got to do it right to be ADA compliant. So that's just another piece of the puzzle of, is it a priority? Do we start dumping all the money towards that or not? Bike-specific infrastructure, we do have the South Bike Loop, which is one of our biggest, it is the biggest bike loop that we have. And then we also have some bike infrastructure that's along like Terra Lane and things like that. So it's kind of sporadic. It's not you'd have to jump on and off sidewalks or paths or something to get to the connectivity. So is that a focus for the city? Which again, maintenance of existing bike-specific infrastructure is the same thing. And then there's always the education efforts, which I think we need to kind of focus on regardless. One thing that was brought up from the Parks Commission was maybe some more public input or surveys to see what everybody else is thinking out there in the 95,000 people we have here. So that's kind of where this list came from. We're doing a lot of these, but these are the options that we came up with, or any other options you guys can think of.
So every year we're presented with road items and how far under budget we are of being able to maintain where we currently are, and it's just going to continue to go down. I think everybody here understands that, and I think this council understands that. We don't have the money to fund it. None of those figures have anything sidewalk related in those numbers we've talked about in the past ever.
So the 200, well, are you talking about
I'm talking about if you wave your magic wand, what does that budget need to be if you wanted to make everything stay status quo?
Oh, yeah, we would. Well, I mean, just in comparison to when we talk about streets, we were saying we'd need 10 to 15 million a year just to catch up and try to maintain being caught up. Right. I have not put that to this yet. But that's something we could do, but it's going to be a pretty high number, I would guess.
I realize that. I think that number would help, in my opinion, be able to get in front of the council and say, hey, it's great that you came up with another 1.5, but reality is you need 5 more, 10 more. Yeah. That's just reality.
Yeah. I think a good starting point for us to figure out, it'd be nice to have $1 million just for specific, maybe existing paths or something like that to try to maintain or rebuild or whatever we need to do. But again, it gets to be site specific then too, because there's some areas it needs to be a full reconstruction, and we need to get design right away in construction. And generally when we find stuff like that, we try to go after the outside funding because it just helps support the SRF so much over time. And we've been successful. It's just, the competition's out there with those applications too, and we're not guaranteed money any year that we submit them. So we've just been pretty lucky, honestly.
Back to the last list there, I've got my top 3 things that would be my recommendation. And the first one is continue to pursue bullet number 1 with outside funding sources as best as possible, and keep partnering with these other entities within the county and the region to get those dollars and get those dollars back here. It's our dollars that are going into that fund, get them back.
Yep.
And then maintaining what we currently have is for sure, really my number 1 priority. That's how I approach everything. You got to maintain the value of your asset, period. Done, over. There's no further discussion on that.
Yeah.
And then, whatever that takes to do. And then, filling in those holes like we have over here by Ethel's. Those are annoying when you're out walking your dog and you're doing whatever else, and you've got one block that you don't have a sidewalk and you got to get on the street. I mean, there's There's one off St. Matthew, or I think we maybe actually did put a sidewalk there, but for the first 10 years I lived out here, there was one block of no sidewalk.
Yep.
So they're all over. Every town has them.
Yes.
Do we have those really identified?
We have quite a few of them identified, yeah, just from people calling in or having a sidewalk request, yeah.
And I mean, the same approach of when we did the whole street analysis of deteriorating streets and rating system special project. You know, there are certain sections that, you know, reality is you might have 5 people that will ever walk on that in a given year.
Yeah.
And there's other sections that there might be 500 people walk on it, you know, and
Yep.
prioritizing those gaps is another piece of that.
Yep.
And, you know, where we know we've got, I assume we don't do pedestrian counts on anything. I don't know how we do that, but.
Yeah. I was going to say there would be an effort we would probably need to look at for trying to gain some data when it comes to that, but it's kind of hard when you don't have a path there. People aren't going to walk it, so it's like you're starting at zero anyways.
Right.
But the stuff we have there, you know, just going up and down K, when I'm driving up and down K, you see, I always see somebody on the 10-foot shared use path, almost every time.
Dave?
Yeah, I was going to say on that note, a lot of times you can tell just because there's ruts and a path because people use it so much. I think everywhere we live, we all are familiar with locations. There's a couple where I'm at that I think is primarily Darden Prairie, so it's not us, but where heavy pedestrian traffic, you always see kids, there's schools, bikes, you know, and there's big gaps, and it'd just be nice. It's in my opinion, we're talking about priorities. I'd just love to see those gaps closed, where there's actual pedestrian traffic, and to the point of, yeah, we don't. If there isn't any pedestrians, fine, but there's a lot of places where we just see them all day. People walking on these on these, and there's a lot of stores nearby. There's schools nearby, and it can probably be figured out. I mean, it's not. You know, it's not super easy, but
Yeah.
anyway. But yeah, that'd be my number one priority. Obviously, if you can get money for special projects outside the city, that's always you take that as best you can, right? So those are my 2 big things.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep, James.
I was going to reiterate I agree with Kevin's priorities to it. And as a biker and a walker and one of the users of the Highway K path, it's on my bike, it's very rough. It's borderline unsafe, frankly. So I'm very pleased that it's going to be fixed up because I'm not willing to put my bike on Highway K. I'm not a confident enough biker for that. I use the path with my bike.
Yeah.
And I walk it too. But either way, it's in bad shape. But
Yep.
I would certainly think it's a lower priority to try to widen because I'll put my bike on a 4-foot sidewalk if I need to or walk. I think the lowest priority, given the gaps and isolated subdivision sections, is widening should be the bottom priority unless there's outside funding available. So yeah, I concur with Kevin's priorities completely.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Appreciate the input so far.
All right. Well, Greg?
Yeah, I would think maintenance of existing, definitely. New, where we can get the funding, for sure. Yeah, I see no difference from that.
Yeah, and this isn't, you know, I don't want this list to come across as like you pick one and that's all we're going to do, because we kind of do all this stuff anyways as much as we can. But yeah, if we're going to start focusing money, that's really what we're trying to get to with the strategic plan, is where do we want to focus that money and what's that money look like? That's the ultimate goal for us on our strategic planning and improvements.
So when we're in an area doing slabs and we touch a piece of sidewalk, is that coming out of any specific sidewalk only budget, or is it just coming out of the price of out of the road?
It's
whatever from the road.
It's coming out of the roadway funding contract. Yeah, it's all kind of lumped together. Obviously, the majority of it all goes to the streets. Then we hold a little bit back for curb ramps and a little bit back for sidewalk, and just kind of do kind of the worst of the worst. If we see something that's heaved or blown up or something, we're right there, even if it's a little bit down the road. I think generally we try to pick the worst of the worst. But if it's just like a little toe kick or something like that, or, you know, like I said, with the ramp, it's kind of tough because it comes down to, we have to make sure if we put the ramp back, the ramp has to be ADA compliant, which means generally you have to take out 2, if not maybe 3 slabs, because they might all touch that ramp, depending on how big the ramp is and what the ramp is doing. So it can get to a pretty involved and expensive area that we got to put money towards just to fix the ramp. So we don't avoid them, but we have to be selective on what we can do. It just kind of, with so many ramps out there in the city, it's going to be hard to ever catch up to all of them because we keep developing and growing and all that. So there's more ramps than I'm telling you. There's probably more lane miles than streets than we show, and there's potentially more sidewalk than we've been talking about because stuff gets, brought into the city that we might not have accounted for already. It could have been an entire subdivision like Harvest or something. I think we've got Harvest covered, but still, that kind of stuff comes into play.
Hey, anybody got anything else? All right, good luck with council, Chris.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's input, and if there's anything else, you can always just shoot us an email or something. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to an update on the new Public Works and Fleet facility. Looks like we got Mr. Bender tonight.
Yes, good evening. Give you a little update on the big project here. So a little bit of background, just to cover the points that you probably already know. The whole project is a $30 million budget. ICS Construction Services is under contract for $28.3 million. They got the contract in January, I think it was. The facility will house 85 Public Works personnel, which is made up of 6 crews, and then 9 fleet personnel. There's 2 buildings. One is the Public Works building, one is the fleet building. And then the parking lots have 124 spots for employees and visitors and 197 spots for city vehicles and equipment. The project includes a salt dome, a fuel island, and it's expected to be completed in August of next year. That's the artist rendering of the project of the front of the Public Works building. And as that looks today, that's what it looks like. They're doing the structural steel. They got all the structural block walls up. The concrete slabs are all poured, and this is the Public Works building. I'll get to the fleet building here later on. So they're about halfway done, maybe a little bit more halfway done with the structural steel. And if you go back, you can kind of see how the front looks in the steel there. It's a little bit different angle, but they're both of the front of the building there. Then this is going down the left side of the Public Works building, just to see more of the work that's been occurring there. This side will have, on the right side of the picture, we'll have a conference room where those pipes are coming up, the utility rooms. Further down will be training rooms and the crew rooms and a break room. And that's just standing inside the same area that we were looking at. And this is going back around completely to the other side of the building, so this would be standing in the city vehicle parking lot, looking back at the building towards the south. So my office would be on the far left corner there. But then all the other offices would be up in that general area on the left side of the picture. Where the taller roof section is, where the crane is kind of focused at, that's where the street department crew rooms will be. And to the right of that is where their trucks and equipment will go. This is just a view of the inside with all the work going on. Shown they're doing structural steel, block walls, a little bit of plumbing and stuff all at once here. It's another view of the work there. That room that we're looking at is the other side of the street department crew space, and that there's a window there. They'll mount a TV on the outside there, and that's kind of where they run their snow operations, and the drivers can come up and communicate through the window, and they have the TV to put their truck assignments on and whatever messages they need to get out to the drivers without having everybody flood into the same space inside. They can do it out in the larger workshop space. And then further down where the work is not as so far developed, this is where water and sewers, trucks, and storage would go, shelves. Now switching over to the fleet department, this is the artist rendering of the Fleet Department building here. And then this is almost that same view. You can see that the Fleet building is further behind, but it's going to catch up. The Fleet building is a pre-engineered metal building. When they get to the structural steel part, it's going to be a lot easier to build, and the Fleet building will actually catch up and maybe even be done faster than the Public Works building. What we're looking at here is basically where the smaller windows are on the kind of left side of the screen. That's where the offices would be inside there, and then the storage would be behind the door that's close to the front of the picture here. This is what I'd call the front of the Fleet building, where that big gap in the wall would be an entrance there, and then inside there would be on this side of the building is the smaller vehicle work bays. Now this is going all the way to the other side of the Fleet building. This would be the furthest west side of the building. This picture was from Tuesday, where they did the slab pour. So they've done the slab pour for about 2/3 of the Fleet building. They still have that other portion they need to work on. And off the screen to the left are some of the bays that the Public Works Department would use more. One is the snow prep bay, the wash bay, and the storage bays for the vacuum trucks. But what we're looking at here, for the most part, are the large work bays for the large vehicles, the trucks, for the maintenance of the trucks there. And this is just another view of the work going on, showing some of the plumbing and the workers finishing off the concrete there. More of the same there. And then this is coming back up onto the east side of the building there, and you can see how they have a lot of work to do yet here. But they will be probably doing the slab pour on this section in about 2 weeks, maybe. So they're moving pretty quick on it. Once all the slab pours are done, then they can roll right into steel. The steel has been delivered onto the site. I don't know when the contractor will actually move their equipment in and start working, but it will be in the next month that for sure they'll start working on the steel for this building. And then, I kind of mentioned that as we were going through it, but there's one more slab pour for the Fleet building, then they're going to do the structural steel. The Fleet building, as I mentioned, will catch up. A lot faster construction on that. What's next for the Public Works building is more utility work and doing all the non-structural walls and the roof. The plan for both the buildings is to have them dried in by the end of the year before winter sets in. So that means they'll have roof and the exterior walls. That way then through winter they could do all the interior work that they need to do. We just now got out the furniture and sign package. They're opening the bids, actually RFP, on October 2nd. Those are the last of the major bids to go out for the project. We still have smaller things that we'll purchase kind of on our own. I mentioned the TVs and stuff for the training rooms. We do that on our own. The microwaves and the refrigerators and the things like that, we still have to buy those, but those are more of just going out and buying them as opposed to putting out a bid for them. We just sent a resolution to the City Council declaring the existing properties to be surplus. With that approved now, we can go out and hire a real estate agent to sell the existing properties. We need the revenue from the sale of those properties are going to offset some of the costs here. Had that appraised 2 to 3 years ago. That combined the properties total about $2.5 million, so that'll help offset that. And I'm hoping to get more than that, being that the time has gone by and there's some inflation in there. So we'll do an RFP for selecting a real estate agent here towards the end of the year. Hopefully get the properties on the market after the first of the year, then get bids, and then the move out date will be set around August, September of next year. We're also renaming Public Works Drive. Once we move away from that facility, Public Works Drive doesn't really make too much sense there. So that is being renamed to Industry Drive. So that's the road that connects from T.R. Hughes over to Cool Springs Industrial. So that'll be Industry Drive. Worked with economic development on getting a name for that. And then we will reuse the name of Public Works Drive for our new entrance coming into the new building. So we'll be on Public Works Drive again. And as I mentioned, the project is expected to be completed in August of next year. With that, is there any questions?
All right, questions? Good update.
All right, thank you.
Exciting.
Yep.
All right, move on to the acceptance of the monthly reports for Public Works and Engineering for July.
I'll move to approve.
Yes, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, future topics. How are we going to frequently get a facility update now that we're off and running every couple of months type thing? You got a plan as you walk back over there? Well, just kind of on this project that you just briefed. I don't know that we need to see it every month.
So the plan is to kind of alternate between this update and then the other projects that Sean has going on at the water and sewer plants. So the next meeting, we would do Sean's presentation, which would be the November, December meeting. And then I would pick this up again in January.
Okay. Okay, that sounds.
Oh, wait, I missed a month there, didn't I?
Yeah, there's an October in there too.
So October would be Sean's. My next update would be November, December. And then we'll just alternate like that.
Okay. All right. Everybody tracking the St. Peter's recycling tour on the 23rd? At what time? 1:15? Is that open to just committee members? Is there rules of engagement there?
Yeah, it's just a special invite for you guys. I think it was extended to the city council too, but the city council already had an opportunity to see it. And then I think the city administrator and the assistant city administrators were invited. I'll be there.
Okay. All right. And we just show up over there and like we're dumping off cardboard and park and.
Correct. Yeah, just right in that area where you can drop off.
Okay.
And then there's a parking lot there, and then the
everybody
entrance is right there. But yeah, I guess we'll probably just meet out front a little bit.
Okay. Does everybody know where that is if you're planning on going? Anybody have no idea where we're talking about?
I don't know exactly where it is, but
Okay, so off of Mid Rivers Mall Drive and what's the name of that road?
Recycle Works or Recycle Center.
Drive. Yeah. So Central County's got their fire training thing right there, kind of right at Mid Rivers. It's that road. You go all the way to the back and left-hand side at the rear.
Is that where you cross the tracks?
Yeah. So if you come from I-70, go north on Mid Rivers, cross the tracks. It is not the first road. That's Didion's. Go to the second road and all the way through.
Ecology Drive.
Is it Ecology Drive?
Drive.
Yeah, that sounds right now. That
There you go.
says that.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, so we got that straight. Other topics? Anybody have anything else they are pressing that they want to see updates on or bring up? Wendy?
I don't know if anyone can answer this question in this room, but I was concerned about the drought, the upcoming drought, and there's people still watering their yards. And I was just wondering how much longer when we don't have rain, are they going to set guidelines on maybe having alternate days that people can water their yards? I don't know who could answer that question for me.
So our water system is doing fine. So we don't see a need to have any conservation orders or anything like that. So yeah, we've been handling this drought pretty well on the water side.
Okay, Steve, I was just getting a little concerned, wondering how much longer, because they don't really say we're going to get much rain in the future. So, okay.
No, you're right. It's been one of the driest periods I can remember. It's pretty bad. My grass is terrible.
So does Jim have any tangible numbers yet on the single stream recycling that could get reported back?
I'll check on that, yeah.
If he does, I mean,
He's
I think
working
that
on
would be a good thing for October on the heels of visiting where it's all going, have a quick discussion on what those numbers look like. If he's got it, I mean, he might not really have enough data yet to start processing, but
Yeah,
he should have some data.
yeah, we'll see.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. All right. Julie, tell whoever your replacement is to get us an agenda. This is Julie's last meeting until 6 months from now. They alternate. If you didn't know, we alternate recording secretaries. Anyway, okay. I guess with that, we'll move on to closing comments. Who wants to go first? Dave.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, thank you. And I love the name changes on the roads. It's one of the perks of, I guess, being the city. You can do that when you move your facility, just change the name. So that's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah, thanks guys. It was a good presentation.
Mary?
Thanks, Chris, for a great presentation. I enjoyed that and learned a little bit there. Thank you.
Chad?
Great presentations again. Thank you for all the information and look forward to seeing more future developments with Public Works and Fleet Management.
James?
Thank you, and thanks for addressing our questions.
And there's some guy at the end that wasn't supposed to be here, but he's here. So, George.
Yeah, I snuck in. Great presentations, both Steve and Chris. It's good to see the progress on the Public Works facilities coming along, so that's wonderful. And then what's going on with the pathways for the city of O'Fallon. Thank you.
All right, Bill?
Steve, Chris, thanks for the updates. Good information.
Greg?
Ditto. Chris, Steve, great presentations. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Scott?
Same here. Really appreciate all the information that was provided by Chris for the pedestrians and bike riders and for the city in general. It's just going to be great for our future. And thank you, Steve, for your presentation as well.
Wendy?
Thank you, Chris and Steve, for your wonderful presentations, and I look forward to all the progress at the Public Works facility and the open house party.
Pam?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Chris, good luck with your strategic planning. Steve, the reason why our lawns look so bad is also the reason why Public Works facility is getting built so quickly.
And I just echo everybody. Great presentation. Thanks, Chris. Great update. I'm excited about some of that, I think. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. With that, Councilman Wexler?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, great presentation, guys. One of my things on strategic plan was more connected parks. So the pathways was interesting to see. And I kind of poked around while you were talking on the bikeable, walkable community website. And it's pretty neat. I don't know if you guys have clicked around on there, but it's pretty cool. We have a neat GIS map that shows a bunch of the already put in paths and the scheduled accommodations coming up. So kind of cool. Check it out. That's all I got. Thanks.
Chris, you got any more words of wisdom? Okay, Mr. Bender?
Let's see, in October, we normally, I think, do the budget update, so that'll be one of the things on the October agenda. And then the City Council had a strategic planning meeting or session, and more money for roads was the most talked about thing. So we staff have been challenged by the City Council to see what we can do to find more money for road maintenance specifically. And there are a few things that we are looking at, and the budgets will be presented to the City Council in October as well. Yeah, we're looking at a few things like using some more use tax money for roads that hopefully will help that. And I think that, so yeah, Julie won't be here next meeting or for 6 months like you had said. Vicki will be returning, taking over. And I think that's about it.
All right. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.